Greetings, this is Carlos from Algo Vista. Today we have Josh over here, a very interesting individual that I've been speaking with over here. He has quite of an experience, quite a story to share. So, Josh, if you could tell me a little bit about yourself, a bit about the role and how it fits into the bigger picture of your current business as a real estate investor.
Sure. Yeah. I actually got started in real estate back in about 2001 as a mortgage broker. And through being a mortgage broker or a loan officer, then a mortgage broker, then throughout my career became a real estate agent, then a real estate broker, and currently am a full-time real estate investor. Throughout that career, I've done over $100 million worth of real estate transactions, doing loans for people, helping people buy and sell property, and then also buying property for myself. Currently, I own 21 long-term rental units, along with a wedding venue and 4 Airbnbs, and am right now just in this transition of trying to sell off some property in order to get back to a more liquid position so we can invest in some other properties as well. My brother and I wrote a book called Pray and Prosper. So we do kind of look at things like the book Think and Grow Rich, but through a biblical worldview. And we've actually been looking at other avenues to share and educate people. So we're really happy to be here to be able to talk with you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's amazing. Let me ask you, Josh, what major shift are you seeing right now of as far as 2024, 2025 in your industry?
So I am friends with a lot of influential real estate investors, and I can tell you that from some of the guys that are very well known that have funky hair or no hair at all and are investing in real estate to the ones that are less known, over the last few years, no one's in a cash position right now. Everyone that
Mm,
I know is, having properties taking longer to sell. Everyone that I know is having a little bit of a struggle. The market's softened, and so properties are taking longer. And also with the interest rates being higher than what they were over a longer period of time, it's making it more expensive to invest in real estate. When you had rates very low, you could pencil a a, uh, a flip or a rental, and you would actually get it to be profitable far easier than today when money's a bit more expensive. So that's very true in my own business as well. We have currently about $2.6 million worth of real estate on the market, and currently nothing's under contract. So it does cause a little concern where you're having to reevaluate just how long it's going to take to sell things, and also the markets that used to be easy. Everyone could trip over money in the good times and make money. It was very, very simple. And so nowadays you have to be more analytical and strategic and also conservative with your estimates on how much is it going to cost and how long is it going to take in order to get this project done, in order to either flip a house and or to stabilize an apartment complex. It just takes longer.
yes, yes, I personally have seen that as well. I am not into the real estate business, but I personally, a bit about background myself, I have seen quite the change in the past few years, going from an era of low interest rates towards the fastest period of increased interest rates. And now it seems that it's trickling down, but it seems like we do have an inflation problems in which the Fed is doing a fabulous job of holding down that inflation, but unfortunately, as a consequence, that is having the ripple effects throughout the whole market as a whole.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of other factors that are playing into this as well.
yeah,
That it's not just interest rates now. It's the money supply. It's
yeah,
printing money. It's
oh, yeah.
the government spending. So there's a lot of factors into it, and it's stuff that I haven't seen in my lifetime, which is cause for concern, but also can make one be very excited. And so I'm bullish on America in the long term, but I'm also very bearish on the short term. The next 6 to 12 months, I think we're going to really be able to see the direction that we're going. And so my hope and my anticipation is that things do very, very well. I just know that we're going to have to go through this period of transition. And in that transition, I'm hoping that through things like technology, that
Yeah.
you're going to see an increase in abundance. And I truly believe that we are going to see that happen.
That's I want to hone in on that. I 100% wholly agree. Um, there is that trend, that short to medium term trend. I do agree, which is a bit of uncertainty, which tends to lead that the numbers are showing that it is a bit bearish. What are your thoughts on the technology aspect affecting the real estate market? I know that artificial intelligence, has been having a stupendous growth recently. Blockchain technology. Do you see any that aspect of technology providing value into
Sure.
your own work?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, as an investor and prior life, I was a real estate agent. I understand that marketing and branding serve a big function for anyone that's going to be doing this. And so we're seeing people build, $1 million brands faster than ever because they're able to use things like we're on this Riverside. We're doing a podcast that helps build the brand. Then we can use different apps to chop up that and create even more short form content. We can transcribe it. We can post it as a blog. We can do SEO. So the marketing aspect of it is very much a part of that business. Then you look at things like artificial intelligence, which is allowing you to use robots to actually build homes. So when we look at the way that properties are being built, they used to be stick built, meaning 2x4s and wood, and now you're seeing homes be 3D printed using concrete. The
Yeah.
interesting thing about monolithic concrete structures is that they have a burn time of 24 hours plus. So that means that you're going to see less destruction of homes, like in the California wildfires recently. A lot of those homes burned down because of the way that they were constructed. There was a few that withstood the heat because they were built out of concrete. It
Oh
used to
wow.
only have to be, it was a dome. They would they would fill up a balloon and then they'd basically build an upside down pool to create a concrete structure. So I see that as going to be something that as homes start getting built faster and faster, they're also going to start looking at the quality of the home. And as you can 3D print it, I think that's gonna definitely start to change how things get done. There's also improvements in plumbing and electricity. These mini split air conditioners that run off of very, very little power. I mean, I know that the technology that is being input into vehicles, right? Like the Tesla cars and some of the new cars that can do 360s and all this stuff. There's really, really cool technology in vehicles. Well, think about that as it goes to homes being built as well. And lastly, when you look at the transfer of ownership, we had talked a little bit about this before, but I think the blockchain of titles is going to drastically change how quickly people can buy, sell, and invest in real estate because blockchain is going to do away with this old school, antiquated caveman way of doing titles where you're
Yeah.
having to, wait weeks for title insurance. It'll now take minutes. So those are some of my
It,
thoughts.
it sounds like you're talking about tokenization of real estate.
Yes, you're going to see more and more of that, as well as the way in which titles are done. The blockchain would basically make it so that title insurance is just is going to be in this, as I understand it, and maybe you can explain a little bit better. But it is every single piece of property would have its own essentially like a VIN number, like a VIN number for a vehicle, and it's constant and never dies, never ends, and it's everybody knows how it is because you also see theft and
Yeah.
fraud happening with property, and that's another thing that's been coming up. So you're going to see some some very interesting new ways technology is being deployed to one protect the public, but two also help with the investing and transfer of real estate.
Yes, yes. I remember just before you hopped onto this call, you were telling me before of how you had purchased a property and you had to do some detective work because
Well,
of some
yeah.
unfortunate circumstances of having to deal with fraud or whatnot, though, and having to look into the laws of the state you were dealing with. And it sounds like, yes, that's something that I hadn't looked into, but yes, most definitely tokenization of real estate will be able to eliminate that friction that one would have to undertake in order to authenticate the property in itself and be able to transfer that ownership at ease. And yeah, no, 100%. So that's the efficiency behind it is going to be one of the main value. Are you familiar with the liquidity or the pool of investors that are able to you're able to get multiple pool of investors into a real estate property in which under current circumstances, I know we had mentioned this before, or you were mentioning it just a few minutes ago, due to the era of high interest rates, uncertainty that's going on with the markets, with tokenization in real estate, you're able to have not just one, two, or three, but even tens, twenties, hundreds of folks able to invest into a specific property by getting a fraction of that pie versus before it would just the paperwork, bureaucracy was just make your hair fall out.
Right. So currently, the way that it works is I want to invest in say a property you have. You might come to me and say, "Hey, Josh, I got this property. It's worth $1 million. I only owe 500 on it, and I need to borrow 200 grand against that property so I can invest it in other things."
Right.
And the way it works currently is you'd have to go and actually go to a lawyer, make sure you get everything written up properly and documented. You then have to go to the county and get a lien against the property. And then you'd also have to make sure that they can't go ahead and over leverage the property more. So there would be some other different legal things that need to be done in order to make sure that they don't sell it without paying you back or things like that. But with the blockchain, it would make that whole process extremely easy.
Yes, yes. There's a company. An article just came out a few days ago, early on this week. They just tokenized a property. This was in Dubai, and they just put it up in the open market. And within 2 or 3 hours, it was sold out. Essentially, the conclusion was you had about 140 investors invested into this. It was in their currency in dinar, but I know the conversion was I did my calculation. It was about like $400,000 of worth of prime real estate property, which is going to be put into rental. Their estimation of rate of return investment per year was about 7%. I don't remember the numbers. The numbers were great though. And based on the amount of liquidity you wanted to provide, you're able to do so, whether it was $1,000, $10,000. Anybody is able to do so by just, putting their their available liquidity, in this case with the blockchain, which would be stablecoin. Just put it in, put a bid, you get that rate of return into the chain. And then if after a period amount of time, you said, okay, that's it, you're able to sell it, get your interest on that piece of property. And then you're able, to give it back to the whoever wants to, to take part of that property. So that to me is
Yeah.
very exciting. Very
Yeah,
exciting. And
it's going to be interesting because I feel like I am at war within myself. I am very much a proponent of the free markets and no regulation whatsoever. And then I see people do bad things, and I'm like, that's why there's certain regulations. So
right.
there's like real estate was the Wild West, and then they said, okay, you need to be licensed in order to buy, in order to help people buy and sell real estate. And then there's wholesalers. Now certain states are cracking down on wholesalers, and it's like, okay, well, why are they cracking down on wholesalers? Well, because the public is being harmed because you
Right.
have people that are doing business in ways that is not so good, right? And there's always going to be snakes out there that take advantage of folks.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be really interesting because if blockchain comes in, it might help with the regulations of certain things because it makes it more transparent and everyone can see the blockchain,
Yeah.
right? So there's, like I said, there's two parts to me that kind of say, all right, I want it to be the Wild West. Let the best win. And
Yeah.
sometimes the best person that wins is actually just better at uh, cheating or lying. And so that's one thing that we would definitely want to protect against.
Yeah.
I wrote another book that should be out soon called Guru or Gangster, and it talks
Oh,
about
wow.
how you can tell the difference. And so that'll
Okay.
be out on Amazon soon. But part of that is just understanding the person you're dealing with. Is there a good transfer of value? And if not, then they might turn into a gangster really fast, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think I just it's a brave new world, and we're gonna have to see some regulation take place. The problem is that if you think of it like a pendulum, you go from anarchy to total
Yeah.
domination, and you
Yeah.
want to keep it in the middle. And so what happens is typically the pendulum swings from one side and doesn't stop. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
the thing that we want to make sure that we're aware of, is that as a free society and people that want to have this, there's a certain amount of regulation that's good, but then
Yeah.
there's also a certain amount of freedom that's necessary in order to keep the free market going.
I agree 100%. Today is June the 13th of 2025. Currently, right now, it seems that we are weeks away before the first bill, which is gonna give regulation here in the United States, which is gonna be the stablecoin bill. It's gonna be the first blockchain um, act that's going to be put into law. And then after that, if everything goes according towards order by August, there should be another bill, which should be the Clarity Act. That should open up the floodgates in which a real world asset use case of the blockchain activity will
Yeah.
be. Now, it's very interesting what you were mentioning over here, though, because it's becoming a bipartisan issue, and as you did mention, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I believe it's been taking longer than expected. And unfortunately, as Americans, we've been paying the price though, because we're kind of lagging behind. A lot of countries around the world have been developing and putting good use into this technology. But at the same time, a lot of officials have been mentioning, it's better, to be late to the game, but at least, United States being one of the most efficient capital system into the world, at least, can come in at it level-headed. So it is definitely very excited. Guru and Gangsters, I love it. I
Yeah.
definitely, I'm gonna have to uh, take a look at that when the book comes out, though. That definitely sounds like there's gonna be some very
Well,
good.
and currently, if you want to find gangsters, you just go look at American politics, because part of why things are taking so long
Yeah.
to change is because there's somebody profiting from
Oh yeah,
this. And
yeah,
so I believe, and it is my belief. I mean, I'm not going to say this is,
yeah,
anyone else is putting their stamp of approval on this, but I believe that some of the reasons why things are taking so long to catch up to the 20, what are we, 21st century now, right? It's 2025, and we're still having paper being used for people's retirement or these title insurance companies. And there's, even our taxes. How is it that the government does certain things so poorly, and yet they want us to do all this stuff with our taxes? So I was reading another article about another industry that might get completely wiped out, which was tax preparers. If everything was just streamlined, that would kind of do away with that. I believe that there's going to be certain entire industries that AI is just going to upend. I believe it wasn't Elon Musk, but it was one of those guys, maybe Larry Ellis. He said something along the lines of schools will only still exist because parents need daycare. And he goes, AI teachers are some of the best teachers that are out there.
oh yeah,
And you don't need a child to be in a classroom 8 hours
yes.
a day.
They're already out there. They're already
Yeah.
out there. There's a school, I think it's called the Alpha School. It
Yep.
starts with an eight. Yeah, yeah. It's
Alpha
like,
School.
yeah,
Mackenzie, whatever her
yeah,
name is. Alpha
yeah.
School looks really interesting. I've actually looked in.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. I have two young daughters myself, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind this. Like, this is it. I mean, you're catering, you're teaching based on the child's disposition of learning at that point in time, and the AI is able to update itself in order to make use for that case. And they're supposedly, I mean, I haven't looked into it. I mean, it seems wonderful from that like 3 minute clip that they were doing.
Right.
It seems like amazing. Just 2 hours of study a day, and the rest of the day they're able to focus on what their passions are, and
Yeah.
it's phenomenal from what I saw. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Mackenzie Price is her name. She runs the Alpha School,
yeah,
and they have, I think, 7 locations right now. But they'll have kids that are in fourth grade, and they'll say, "I'm in fourth grade English, but I'm in eighth grade math, and I'm in ninth grade science." And it's
yeah.
like, wow, that's fascinating. And so they put kids in these little pods for
Yeah,
2 hours a day, and then during the rest of the school, they're out there. I think this year they're doing a food truck, and they're
yeah,
like, "Oh yeah, you got to learn how to market, you got to do sales, you got to learn how to cook and do inventory, and then clean and like all this stuff." It's really a brand new way of doing school, and it's
yeah,
like, okay, somebody's finally innovating school because school should not look like the 1940s schools. And
yeah,
yet we see things like insurance and real estate that it's literally the exact same thing they've been doing for 30, 40, 50 years.
yeah.
It's time for a revolution. And I think that we're going to see some major changes happening in the next few months, few years. So
I
very exciting
uh
time.
Very exciting times. Yes, it is very exciting times. We have to look at the upsides and not get weeded out with the, Orwellian side of it, though. I mean, like anything else, like, when the internet came out, when the, even with the light bulb came out, there were folks out there were just saying, we just cannot do that. It's not the way of things. But, look where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And
And,
just,
have you ever watched, there's a show called Men Who Built America?
okay, no, I'm not familiar with that.
That's a great show. It's got the Rockefellers, JP Morgan, Andrew Carnegie. It's got
Yeah,
all these guys in it. And one of the things that they talked about was that electric light bulb shouldn't be there. And they went on a marketing campaign to say that it was unsafe and that you should still use oil lamps because that's safe. And so these companies would market to change the mind of people that they were against electricity. And I believe that you see a lot of marketing these days that is also contrary to what the reality might be. And it's gonna take the decentralization of information, which we've seen through the internet, and they're still trying to control information. And so the blockchain is alleviating the control of the money supply, whereas anyone could bank. Why is it that only the bankers get to lend money and earn interest? And then you go down these certain rabbit holes of what is it called, where they print money out of
yeah,
thin air, like magic money. So
yeah.
it's going to be a very interesting time as we see the technology continue to grow, and hopefully from there we actually see a greater efficiency in the transfer of real estate in buying and selling, as well
Yeah.
as the lowering of certain costs to build and also the costs to insure. I'm very excited about things, and
A hundred
I'm gonna
percent.
I'm gonna
It,
stay bullish. I'm gonna definitely stay bullish.
no, 100%. To chime in there, I remember I spoke with one of my colleagues. He's a realtor. When I was asking, well, hey, when is a good time to buy? It's like now is always a good time to buy, though. And just to chime in with what you were saying, even though the trend does seem bearish and nobody knows what the outcome is going to be, all we can do is speculate, though. But to chime in what you were saying, the United States, they're moving forward on having the blockchain being built upon the stablecoin versus Europe. They want to go more towards the CBDC, which is the centralized bank digital currency, which essentially they're able to control the money supply. Meaning that, if I decide to go buy an ibuprofen, I can only buy a CVS, but I cannot go buy it at David's pharmacy. So that's the reason why I do agree with you here. Long term, America will be bullish because that stable coin should, I mean, hopefully there's going to be no shenanigans. We'll put an end towards fractional reserve banking, which is the reason, the
Yeah.
inflation has been insane. And versus the CBDC will just be, a 2.0 reserve. federal, what's it called? Yeah, the reserve banking, fractional reserve banking, which means, for every $10 I deposit, the bank can lend that out, 10 more times. And that's, the reason we are in this mess though. But hopefully,
Well,
you know,
I'm, I want to just touch on what you just said. Somebody else had said this, I guess. When's a good time to invest? Now. I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to disagree because I think that there are these ebbs and flows in the market.
right.
And why did why did you have certain very wealthy people sell off a ton of stock and get to cash positions? Because they're waiting because they see into the future that there will be some more things that happen, right?
Warren
And
Buffett.
so
Yeah.
so I would say I believe that if you're going to stay consistent, if you have a W-2 job and you're just consistently investing and you set that up where it's just on autopilot, um, and you're having a very long-term view, then the ups and downs as it's going up, it's staying within this trend, right? Okay, fine. Maybe it's always a good time to invest, but sometimes it's you're getting a bigger bang for your buck to pay off debt, or maybe you'll have different areas that might be more advantageous to invest um, in real estate or in the stock market or whatever. So there's a pattern that tends to emerge. So I just want to encourage people that if you are looking at it thinking, is now a great time, and you're sitting on the sidelines, there is Warren Buffett and I believe it was Jeff Cook and a few other very wealthy people are sitting on the sidelines with a ton of cash, waiting for the market to crash. And I sure hope that we don't see a major meltdown, but I do think that as this new economy kind of comes online, where we're redistributing the way in which the world financial system works using blockchain, and even with the taxes and tariffs, it's changing the way the world is operating. And so as this new economy comes online, I think you're going to see it take off. So is now a good time? Maybe, but it also might be a good time to pay off some bills and
Oh yeah.
pay down your house, stuff like that. There's a there's a quote that we have in the book Guru or Gangster, and it says, if somebody's a consultant and they're your guru and they talk about, I'm going to grow your business 10x, and you're a plumber and you're already working 40 hours a week, there's no 10xing that. Okay. You don't own a business, you're self employed. So, what you need to do is instead of hire some marketing guru that's going to get you 10 times more leads, they're actually going to kill you, right? They're going to, I shouldn't say that because this is a podcast. They're going to hurt you, right? No one died, right? But they're actually going to hurt you. What you need instead is you need to focus on your processes and
Right.
your production, and then maybe hiring an assistant or getting to increase your production. So, within the context of how things operate, sometimes what you need to do, or what you, I shouldn't say need to, but an advice that I might give someone one of the things I always hate is, you know what you should do? And that always bugged me. So I don't want to do that to you or our listeners, but an opinion of what might be a better possibility would be focus on personal development. I always tell people the first piece of real estate you should develop is in between your ears. Reading books, listening to podcasts like this, expanding your thinking, and then through the use of AI, you should be conversing with ChatGPT or Grok or whatever AI platform you want, because it can be one of your best tutors. If it's if AI is being used right now at the Alpha School and it's helping teach kids better than teachers could teach kids, then there's a really good possibility that AI might be a better tutor than Grant Cardone, or pick your guru. But there are some really good ways that you can use AI if you understand how. So
Right.
learning how to prompt AI properly. Right now, a lot
Yes.
of people are using AI. Like there's an old saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
If all you know how to do is say, hey, ChatGPT, what's the weather like? Then you're using like a tiny little bit of the capacity of ChatGPT. But if you
That's
can ask ChatGPT better questions and then take that and internalize it and do something with it, um, the world's your oyster.
oyster.
Something.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
how the saying goes. Yes,
I
yes,
I don't eat oysters, but
yeah.
yeah,
Yes. No, just to hone in on that, the AI agents. I was listening to this podcast with Tony Williams, and he's got this partner. I forgot his name. They were, okay, I'll send you the link here afterwards. They were interviewing this very successful individual. He came from nothing. He's from Colorado. He now owns, he manages Vista Equity partnership, something like that, at like over $100 billion of asset under management. And he's very big on AI and on the data behind the AI. He believes that very soon we're all going to have our own AI agents. And
yep,
he was um, speaking about what would be the use case. Well, the use case would be to make your time much more efficient. For example, the story Dave was making on this podcast was, if he was going to the gym to Pilates class with a business partner, and for some reason, it was canceled, like within 30 seconds, the AI agents, in order for them, to keep up, their meeting or day-to-day activities, was able to schedule their Pilates class within 5 miles radius, so they're able to get that workout together and keep on moving on the day and have everything programmed within 30 seconds.
right.
And that, I believe, the efficiency is gonna make us much more valuable, and we're able to do much more better use within our time, especially in the world of business. So that's very
And that's why learning how to use it is going to be so important. I can grab a paintbrush and my painting is going to look very different than somebody that really knows how to paint. And the same thing can be said with any tool that's out there. I have hired painters and electricians and AC guys and plumbers, and there's a big difference between talented people that know how to use the tools they have and those people that just show up and wing it. And so there's a conference I'm going to be speaking at July, not is it July? No, June 20th through the 22nd. It's called AI for Business. If you're listening to this and it's already passed, then you missed it. But it's AI for Business. Brandon Hansen runs it, and he's a good friend of mine. And it's going to be talking a lot about these artificial intelligence tools that are out there. And I love being around that because I believe it's the future. I know that it's going to increase the effectiveness. It's like that old saying that says, if you want to move the world, you give me a fulcrum and a lever long enough, and I can move it. And the lever is AI today. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
tool. So get on board, start learning the stuff, ask better questions of it, use AI as your tutor, and really start just leveling up your game.
Excellent. Phenomenal. I love it. Thank you so much, Josh. Where can the viewers find you and get in contact with you in order to get in touch? If they want, to get in contact with you in regards to, the experience, your expertise, maybe a consultations, or if they want to get in business with you, specifically the books, though, because that's definitely something I want to keep my eye out for.
Yeah, so everything can be found at joshdarville.com. That's just my name, joshdarville.com. And any books that are on Amazon, they're all on amazon.com. Guru or Gangster, or else you can find this one, which is Pray and Prosper. Pray and Prosper is a I wrote it with my brother. My brother's got a PhD. He uses really big words in a lot of this stuff. But if you are a Christian and you want to look at the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon
Yes.
Hill, but
Yeah.
through a different worldview, this would be the book for you.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, Josh. Thank you so much for your time. We'll make sure to stay in touch with you.
Awesome.